Hi guys, welcome back to With Her Nose Stuck in a Book. My name is Nikki. First of all, I would like to apologise for the lack of videos in the last few weeks. I have had this weird on and off cold thing which keeps making me completely lose my voice. Like, I cannot speak at all, or I sound absolutely ridiculous with this really squeaky, high-pitched, cracking voice. Which, yeah, it just kept coming back. But I think it's finally away now, so I do apologise for the lack of videos, but yeah, wasn't good. As you can see, we are now decorated for spooky season, so today I'm going to be going through all the books that I read in September. First off, I do need to go over a couple of little things that I missed from my last videos. I did a video about all the gifts that I got for my birthday that were book related. I got another gift since then, which I will show you today. Stephanie very kindly got me this little cute book cover that protects your books in your bag, like in your handbag and stuff, keeps them good. And inside that she gave me this book, Butter, by Asako Yuzuki, which I have been eyeing up for absolutely ages. I've heard a lot of good things about this book. As far as I know, it's about it's a crime book, murder, that kind of thing, but with a whole cooking element in it, so there's a lot of food talk and stuff in it. Sounds really interesting, and I cannot wait to get around to reading that. The second thing I have to admit to is in my 40 books for 40, where I let you all know the 40 books that people had recommended I read for my 40th birthday, I forgot one, and I forgot my daughter's recommendation, which so my daughter Lexi recommended Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. In my defence, I had put it on my bookshelf alongside the other kind of Greek mythology and Greek retellings, because I'd just built a new bookcase and there was a little section for mythology and retellings of Greek stories, and I was like, oh, I'll put that there, but then I forgot to take it back then when I was doing the video, so I do apologise, Lexi, for forgetting your book. But yes, this is also in my list, in the list of the 40 books I was to read for 40, which I'll be doing reviews of very soon. So September, it was a fairly good reading month. I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 books. A couple of 5-star reads in there. So I will go over them just now with you. The very first one that I read was We're All Guilty Here by Karen Slaughter. This was so good. I gave it 5 stars. Karen Slaughter is probably one of my favourite thriller crime writers. This is the first apparently in a new series of books, and it's set in North Falls, which is like a small town where everyone knows each other, everybody knows everybody's business, and it focuses on Amy, who is a policewoman in the small town, and one night at the 4th of July fireworks display, 2 girls go missing. And she was the last one to speak to one of them. One of them also happens to be her best friend's daughter. So the first part of the book kind of focuses on that, and then finding that killer and him going to jail. But then time hops. I think it's 10 or 12 years into the future, and this guy's released, and the same thing happens again with another girl in the town. But is it a copycat is it a copycat situation? Is it just the guy that's been released? You don't know, did they get it wrong? And we also have this other character come in who was called Jude, a retired FBI profiler whose speciality is basically finding the bodies of young girls and boys and getting killers to admit where they've hid the bodies so that their parents can get peace and say goodbye. And she comes in, she's really interested in the dynamic between them, really interesting. There's lots of side characters in here, like Emmy's family, they basically kind of own the town. And there's some very cool characters in there, some very funny characters. As always with Candice Slaughter, the subject matter is dark. She doesn't hold back, but the writing is so good. And what I will say is none of the violence is ever done just for violence sake. It all serves the story. But yeah, I gave this 5 stars. And yeah, because I will be reading if this does turn out to be a series, I will be reading the next ones. I just want to say sorry if you can hear weird noise in the background. I have 2 French bulldogs and they do not sit quietly, so that is what you can hear in the background. Yeah, so I would definitely recommend We Are All Glad We're Here by Candice Slaughter, and I would recommend pretty much anything by Candice Slaughter. As I said, she's one of my favourite writers, but this was brilliant. I then read Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. I don't know if I'm saying that wrong, I'm probably saying it wrong. And this, again, I don't know if I would give it 5 stars, maybe 4, 4.5. But again, this was really good. A really good book to read in spooky season, kind of September, October time. This is about a young woman called Mallory who is just out of rehab. She's had issues with prescription drugs. Just out of rehab, doesn't have anywhere to go. And her sponsor manages to get her a job as a nanny for a young boy called Teddy. And she gets to the house, everything seems normal. She thinks she's landed on her feet with this live-in nanny position. So she's spending time with Teddy. Teddy loves to draw, and she notices that the drawings that Teddy is doing are getting darker and darker in theme, and that he seems to be talking to an imaginary friend when he's alone in his room. And the parents, when she confronts the parents about this, they kind of dismiss it as just, oh, it's just an imaginary friend, like all kids do it type thing. But she can't help but think there's something a bit more sinister to it. And then the drawings become not only dark, but far too advanced for a little boy. So it's like, she's like, he can't possibly be drawing these pictures. I don't want to say too much more because I don't want to spoil it, because there is a major plot twist in this. I would recommend it if you like thrillers with a kind of supernatural element to it. But yeah, I really recommend it, and especially for this time of year. I've not read anything else by this author, but I have seen, there's something, The Wedding Party or something to do with wedding. There's one out that I might pick up by him. But yeah, I really recommend this, and as I say, I don't want to say too much more because it will spoil it for you, and you're better going into this blind because the plot twist is wild. Next up, this is one of my favourite series, if not my absolute favourite. I love the partnership in this book. The Final Vow, which is by M.W. Craven. Drop the book. which is I think the 7th in this series, and they just get better and better. They honestly, it's about Washington Poe and Tilly, and so Poe is this kind of gruff, says it like it is type investigator, and Tilly is this, she's basically like a genius. She's like one of the smartest people in the world, but she's also very socially awkward. Like, she's very much like Sheldon in the early seasons of Big Bang Theory, like, whereas she hasn't, because she's just been studying and she has no social skills whatsoever, just says what she thinks. It's really funny to see their partnership grow, and I do recommend you read like book 1 through to 7, because you see their relationship develop. Because in the first book, like, Poe is very reluctant to like work with anyone else, but him and Tilly just at that point kind of like, he's like, absolutely not. But then they grow, and by this book they are absolute ride or die best friends, and it is just such a lovely partnership. I love these books. This one in particular is about, there's a sniper taking people out all across Britain. At this point, I think at the start of the book, I think he's taken out about 20 people over several months. The police have got nowhere in terms of catching them. Each location is completely random, each person is random, nothing's connected to each other, and that's when they decide to bring in Poe, Tilly and their boss, DCI Flynn, to basically profile the case and see if they can figure it out. I'm not going to lie, the first few pages of this book, if you have read the previous ones, will make you want to throw it across the room, but then you'll immediately go and get it, because you need to keep reading to find out if it's true. If you know, you know. Yeah, so like, I read the first part of this book and was like, no, absolutely not. And then obviously the story jumps back to the beginning and takes you through to that moment. Really, really well done. Very, very clever. And the ending of this book, I cannot wait for the books that are going to be based on what the ending of this book tells you. I don't know if I'm selling this well, because these are so good. Like, I really, if you like crime and thrillers, please pick up this series. It's just for the relationship of Poe and Tilly. They are so good, but every story is so good. It's so fast paced. W. Craven is such a good writer. And yeah, I thoroughly recommend it. 5 stars, no notes. Like, go and get it. If you haven't read the other ones, go and get the first one and work your way through them. You will thank me for it. They are so good. Next up, I read a couple of plays. These were, my daughter is doing her hires just now, so I have been reading a few things to kind of help her with that, and I read Men Should Weep by Ina Lamont Stewart, and this is a Scottish play from, I want to say the 1930s, and it's basically set in a family kitchen in the slums of the Gorbals in Glasgow in the 1930s, and it focuses on Maggie, who is a kind of downtrodden housewife. Her husband's constantly out of work, but doesn't help her around the house and stuff, like with children. She's got several children. Her eldest son is married to a woman who she doesn't believe is any good. and it's just about how they struggle. It's about how people in poverty are in this cycle of poverty, and it's really difficult to get out of. It was one of the kind of first plays that showed like real life. Like before that, there's a interview with Ina Lamont Stewart that before that she was going to the theatre, and it was all these like kind of glitz and glamour, like 1920 roaring 1920s, like Great Gatsby vibe, like shows in the theatre. And one night she was like, I don't want to see that, I want to see something real. And she basically went home, wrote her first play, but I can't remember the name of right now, but she wrote her first play that got commissioned, and then she got commissioned to rewrite this, and it was a massive success at the time. It's very highly taught in Scottish schools. I remember reading it when I was in school or uni, I can't remember which, and now they're obviously teaching it at higher. Such a good little play. So much in here about like living under the breadline, struggling, the slums of Glasgow, domestic violence, all that was just kind of seen as normal at the time. And yeah, so it's about Maggie, who's in, obviously towards the end she kind of just says enough's enough, and she kind of stands up for herself and takes back like her life basically. It's also a massive commentary on how women are kind of put upon, like they are expected to do all the childcare, all the housework, all the everything, like earn money when their husbands, but still their husbands can't earn money, so they've to then go out and earn the money, but they're still in charge of all the childcare, and they're still in charge of all the housework, and they're still in charge of looking after elderly relatives, because in this the gran, Maggie's mother-in-law stays with them, and she's expected to look after her, and they don't have any, like a lot of the time they're going hungry, and it shows you how Maggie will go without eating to let her husband and her kids eat, but on the other hand her husband will come in and just eat the food and not ever think about, oh, but what are the kids going to have tomorrow. So it's just, yeah, it was very feminist for its time, but the social commentary is so good. It's such a good little play, and I hope I can see it in the theatres sometime soon. If anyone is putting it on, I would like to go and see it. But yeah, brilliant little Scottish play. Thoroughly recommend it if you are into like drama and reading plays and stuff. Yeah, recommend that one. The other one that I read, the other play that I read was A View from the Bridge by Arthur Miller. The only other Arthur Miller that I've read is Death of a Salesman, which I read when I was in school, so that was many, many years ago. I do have The Crucible sitting on the shelf, which I will read at some point. A View from the Bridge is about Italian immigrants coming into New York. I think they live in Brooklyn, and it's about Eddie, who is a longshoreman living in Brooklyn, and his wife's two cousins come over from Italy illegally, and they're basically staying with Eddie and his wife until they get on their feet in America and can find their own place. But one of them kind of starts a relationship with Eddie's niece who lives with them, because her parents have passed away, and Eddie doesn't like it basically, but as the play goes on you kind of realise that it's not just that he doesn't want her to go out with the cousin, there's something darker there. And yeah, great wee play. Again, would like to see this in the theatre. My daughter went to see this in the theatre last year with school, and then they're studying it again this year, so that's why I picked it up to read it. But I would like to go and see it. And yeah, plays are great for, like, if you've just got a wee afternoon, like you can just sit and read them all. Read the whole thing in a few hours, because they're like, it's all dialogue and they're generally quite short. So yeah, I would definitely again recommend this if you like plays, reading plays, and drama and stuff. And again, set in, I think, around the kind of 1920s and 30s. So yeah, but a very different view from Men Should Weep. But yeah, a bit wild, but I would recommend it. After that, I read Riley Sager book, The Only One Left, and again, I would recommend that for this time of year because it was kind of spooky vibes at points. So The Only One Left is based on a woman named Kit who has basically been so she's a caregiver, and one of her patients died in her care via basically she took her pain medication and killed herself, and there's a suspicion of whether Kit helped her do that or not, and helped her kill herself. So there's a whole thing, like the whole debate about euthanasia and stuff in here, but she's obviously struggling to get a new job, and she's offered to go to this big house in the rich part of town and look after someone named Lenora Hope, who is accused of many years ago killing her entire family. She's housebound, she cannot move at all apart from one hand, so she's bedbound and wheelchair bound. Kit is a bit wary at first. She goes in, but very quickly Lenora communicates to her that she would like to tell Kit her story. So they get a typewriter, and Lenora very slowly starts typing her story. And the twists in this, like, it's a Riley Sager book, so obviously the twists are going to be good. But yeah, there's quite a few twists. I kind of get, like, I guess the vibe was a twist, but I got it wrong. But yeah, it's really spooky at parts because it's set in this like big house that's right on the edge of the cliffs, and the cliffs are basically decaying and like falling, so like the house is on a tilt because it's basically sliding into the sea. And you've got that kind of locked room vibe because it's like just they're isolated away up in this place, and all this spooky stuff's happening. But yeah, I would really recommend it. Riley Sager's books are always great, to be honest. Like, you can't really go wrong. But yes, I would definitely recommend it for this time of year. Then I read a short story called Lamb to the Slaughter by Roald Dahl, and I read this for my younger daughter's English class because she's studying it in English, and it's a very typical macabre Roald Dahl short story where, again, you have this wife who is absolutely dedicated to her husband, like will do anything for him, make sure everything's perfect for him coming home from work, and he comes home and he's just horrible to her. He's like, I don't want to speak to you, like, get me a drink, like blah blah blah. And he basically says, I know the time's not great, but I'm leaving you, type thing. And she snaps. She just snaps. And how she manages to escape the police's suspicion is quite genius. But yeah, a good wee story. Again, you could read it in an hour. Roald Dahl storytelling at its finest, like, because the short stories are really good. But yeah, so that was a little short story. And then the last book I read this month was The Tenant by Frida McFadden. Frida McFadden, like, I know a lot of people absolutely love Frida McFadden. I do enjoy her books, but I wouldn't say she is the best thriller writer out there. But like, for just a fun, easy read, I would definitely recommend them. So this one is about a guy called Blake, who is this big kind of hotshot, like, marketing guy. I want to say marketing. And he one day is randomly fired for leaking company information to a rival company, and he's kind of blindsided. He's like, I didn't do that, like, blah blah blah. But basically, he's blacklisted throughout the marketing world, and he struggles to get a job. So his fiance suggests getting in a tenant to help with the mortgage payments, and that's where it all starts to go terribly wrong. Because the tenant, Whitney, seems to be going out of her way to provoke Blake and stuff. But yeah, again, plot twist after plot twist with, as always, with Frida McFadden. Can't say too much more about the story without spoiling it, but yeah, if you want a good, fun, easy read that you can read in a day or two, and you like thrillers and you like crazy plot twists, then Frida McFadden is your gal. As I say, I enjoy them. I wouldn't say that they're the best in the world, but they are good fun. So yeah, that was the last book that I read in September. So thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.